everyone, we welcome you to Glass Academy Webinars 2023. The theme for this year is Art and Science of Designing Responsibly. Today we have with us two speakers, Architect Ayan Roy and Architect Soumyodeep Das, the founder duo of VBridge, a multidisciplinary design consultancy that aims to provide every single design service under one roof. With the purpose of designing a better world, they have been delivering quality projects in the area of architecture, interior, township, modular, and installation since late 2019 and have completed 100 plus projects since then. Currently, VBridge has offices in Kolkata, Mumbai, and Kuala Lumpur with a team of 30 plus strong members. Within 5 years of their official journey, Architect Ayan and Architect Soumyodeep have been named in Forbes 30 under 30 as a special design mention. VBridge is also one of the youngest to be recognized in the London Design Biennale from India. Both Architect Ayan and Architect Soumyodeep hold their bachelor's degree in architecture from IIEST Shibpur and had garnered notable recognition during their academic years by winning prestigious national design competitions collectively like Saint-Gobain Transparence 2015 and CII IGPC Awards 2016. Solely, Architect Ayan was one among the top 10 in representing India for IDA Awards 2016 and was also a national winner in ITC Ito Rasupasi. Similarly, solely Architect Soumyodeep was among the top 10 in representing Eastern India for NIASA 2017 and holds Charles Correa Gold Medal for Best Design Dissertation 2007. In their early years, they have worked with renowned firms both in India and Malaysia. Welcome, Architect Ayan and Architect Soumyodeep. We are delighted to have you here with us today, and we are looking forward to your presentation. Let's hear from you on the topic. From blueprint to greenprint, sustainable architecture marvels. Over to you.
Yeah. Hi, hello everyone. So myself, Architect Ayan. I have my partner with me also, Architect Soumyodeep Das. So we are going to talk about a very, I think, important topic, which ma'am has already mentioned. So before just going to that, I'll just share our presentation so that it is easy for all of you to understand what we are going to talk about. So I hope my screen is visible. So yes. Starting with blueprint to green print. I mean, this is a very interesting topic that, came in all of our mind while we were talking about this particular presentation. I mean, as architects, we are constantly, trying to draw blueprints of the building, of a design, of an idea. And it's very important to create a green print as well, rather an imprint of green and sustainable architecture. So from there, we started our journey, and as it's already mentioned that we started our journey in a country like Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, during our internship days. So it has always been an approach that we've seen specifically in Southeast Asia, that people have always given importance to sustainability and green approach. So taking a lot of inspiration from our training days, as well as we are both pass outs from IIEST Shibpur, that is BE College Shibpur, which is popular for having a very green campus. So again, coming from all of this as a reference, our projects have always looked forward to bring some green and sustainable approach. So through our design and through this presentation, we would just love to give you a basic glimpse of how we have been trying to convert our blueprints into green prints, or at least leave an impression of that. So let us take you through that. So as it has already been mentioned, these are some of the basic glimpses and recognitions. I'm not going much into detail as this has already been explained. So I'm just running through this. Let me start talking about this project. So, when we talk about starting our journey, so we were given a very interesting challenge in one of the hospitals that, I mean, previously it was purely a hospital, specifically for the TB patients. But particularly over there, as it is mentioned, it's for the Manipal Tata Medical College, we had been told that they want to develop an academy. They want to develop a particular college academic building where they want a library, which would be basically of a volume where at least 200 students could read. And along with that, there will be a lot of facilities like examination room, computer room, etc. So initially the idea was on top of the building that existed. But since the buildings were old, a bit old over there, we suggested if we could find out a plot over there. Now, the building shape, if you see the picture that is there at the center, the building shape has taken this particular shape, a kind of a hexagon shape, just because of the reason that if you see the site, there are a lot of plants that are surrounding this particular site, and we have tried to do two things. One is that we have tried to follow that the building impression or the plan that is already there, and we have tried to take an offset from that so that we respect the architecture that is existing over there. Secondly, what we did was by this, we have saved a lot of plants and trees that were there for at least 50 to 100 years. And those trees were eventually saved by just diverting the shape of this building. And the third thing that we have done over here to leave a green impression is, as you see this courtyard, which is there, this entire courtyard is completely during daytime, people read there without any additional requirement of lights. So this was an approach that we had taken. And I think one thing we should mention right at the beginning of our presentation, that is these buildings that we are showing, a lot of buildings are there which are not made using any kind of bricks. So they are made using light gauge steel frame structures, and they save a lot of water, and they save a lot of extra energy that are being used in terms of labor, in terms of a lot of aspects. Therefore, the overall approach of weBridge was green and sustainability right from one of our very first project that I just showed you. Next, we'll move to some projects. I would request Soumyodeep to take up from there.
Hi, this is architect Soumyodeep Dash. As Ayan already mentioned, I am the co-founder of weBridge and also the director of weBridge Engineering and Projects Private Limited. So, see, starting from our early practice days, what we have already thought from our side is we are going to address the existing problem which are there in our cities, not only cities but also our villages. So this was one such project where we had to bring something new to the city lifestyle. The project was a railing design. The stretch was more or less around 3.4 kilometer. Now, the iconicness of this project was it was near to Bisho Bangla Gate. So per day, at least 50,000 to 60,000 people pass this road, mostly via car. So what are the kind of users that are going to see our project? That first we analyzed, and what we found out was very interesting. So from 8 to 80, from students to retired persons, everyone was traveling through this, even the Uber drivers, laborers, dabbawalas, everyone. So the design should be such that everybody should enjoy. So in our school life or in early 90s or in early 80s, we heard this term called bioscope. So there was a man who used to carry this bioscope in the villages, and he or she used to show the students movies or something like that. So again, another concept which we studied in our college basic design subject, that is illusion, 3D illusion, or you can call it as a closure. So what we did is the idea which was shared by the client was you need to showcase all the laureates of Bengal and all the eminent personalities in the field of cinema, freedom, and others as well. So what we did is we created a panel using our own colors with scheme with proper framing, and then we divided into many parts which will help you to see or visualize the artwork from a particular angle. But when you will be try to see this perpendicular in a perpendicular way, you will not be able to see anything. So that's how it is creating a kinetic theory in the middle of a city. And you see, if you talk about sustainable approach, then city sustainability depends on its culture as well. So keeping the culture as well as the journey, and as well as keeping the green visible from behind, that was the key factor for this design.
So absolutely, like we made it a bit of, you can say, kinetic architecture without using too much of energy resources from anywhere. So there is dynamic movements, which are also, there is no energy, additional energy being used. So moving on to another project of ours. So this is a project which is again very close to our heart because we had got this project quite early in our career. So, this project where this is inside a plant of Tata Steel, and I mean, there would be a lot of people who have gone inside plants, might be. So actually, inside the plant, it's very, I would say, dry. It's very raw. It's very, not. I would say it's not very vibrant inside a plant. I mean, those who have been inside a plant would definitely understand what we are trying to tell. So the challenge was that you could not make it something too glossy, because again inside plant there are a lot of dusts, so you cannot make it too glossy so that it eventually does not shape up well. But you have to make something which looks very lively, and for the people who are traveling inside the plant, they generally do not find, because I told it's not too vibrant, something which would be giving them a bit of hope to come back next day and even work harder. So that was a very basic brief that was given to us, that something we need to do by design so that people feel interesting about that space. So what our approach was that, we simply took this building. Again, I would say that this building, no bricks have been used in this entire building's walls or anywhere. It's a steel construction totally, and in some places light gauge steel frame has been used. So while doing this building, our target was to take these facades. So the facade, if you see, we've used a total palette of lighting in this facade, and we've used GFRC frames on these walls. So what it makes to the entire facade is, if you see the picture on the right side, you would find that there's a reflection on the water. And this entire facade that you see that has been designed over here, we have also used in some parts, we have used lighting and optimized lighting in a manner so that after evening, when the lighting is taking, when the entire illumination of the building is taking place, we are using lights a bit using from the solar energy as well, because our target was to include solar energy inside the facade lighting. As well as the second thing that we did is we invited a lot of daylight. So as you see, again, this is a format of illusion, because the blank spaces of the building which are between the windows, that have, whereas the windows have been totally kept open and very sharply, visibility is there. So this was another idea. And on the left side, if you see, so it's the image which is taken during dusk or kind of daytime, then you see the picture at the night time. So when during the day somebody who is going to work, he sees a building which looks somewhat aesthetical, but once the person is passing at the evening after a hectic schedule of work throughout the day, when he or she is looking at this building, I mean, looking at the illumination, we have done a survey and we found that, looking at the facade of this building, people are really happy after the entire day, because, using warm colors, using this kind of a facade was really helpful for their livelihood or their lifestyle. And definitely the client had told us that, they are happy because it eventually made that place vibrant without using too much of architectural elements, just minimalizing whatever was needed for the site. So this was the idea for this, and some relevant points are mentioned in the bottom. So the next one.
So now, as we started to explore a lot of new materials from early days of our career. We eventually met tubes division of Tata Steel, where they wanted to create a lot of iconic structures all around the world using steel tubes. And what are the benefits of steel tubes? Let me tell you that first. That is, the construction period is very less. You can do it somewhere else, just like precast prefab constructions. and you take it here, fix it, and it's done. So benefits of steel using, how it is helping the sustainable construction process is, there is less number of waste that has been, somehow generated in the site, less use of manpower, less use of energy. So all these points are easily making this a very nice sustainable construction and sustainable structure. So the project was, given at a site which was historic, because it's the entrance to the JRD Tata Sports Complex in Jamshedpur. Also, it is the entrance of Kinan Stadium, where Mahendra Singh Dhoni used to practice over here. So there was a badminton court. We have got a lot of badminton geniuses from here, who have won medals for India. So it's a sports hub. So again, what we always think before designing something is, we are going to design it for common mass. So common mass should understand what is the material and how it is reflecting this place. So what we have done is, we found out the sports that are going to be played over here, of course in future as well, and we made the cutouts using steels through CNC cutting. And see, if somebody from the age group of say 10 to 15, he doesn't have much idea about steel or construction or anything, but he or she will understand that these are the cutouts of the sports, which is actually creating an imageability to that overall structure and the complex as well. And another thing what we have done is, it is larger than life. So if you see the scale of ours and also the security guard, you will find it is around 12 meters high. So the grandeur, symmetry, grandeur, imageability, fast construction, tubular construction, and segmentalized architecture. So these are the factors that we have thought of while creating these structures. And of course, carbon footprint reduced by 75% from civil construction, and it's very lightweight because we have used hollow sections. So then the usage of labor, it easily we can reduce that.
So moving on to the next one, I mean, this is also another very, very interesting part. So just talking about projects in steel construction, I mean, one of the biggest benefit that we found in steel construction is, I mean, it saves a lot of time. I mean, if a project is supposed to happen in RCC construction, say in 3 years, or say 2 years, we have ourselves completed that project in 9 months, where the drawings were supplied in 1.5 months. So that's how fast it can happen. Like, I mean, the first project that we had show you just a few minutes back of Manipal Group. So there our client was Tata Steel again, Tata Steel Nestin, and the project was completed in 9 months, including drawing and everything. So I mean, this has helped us, deliver faster. And now talking about one project where time was really, really important is the COVID hospitals. I mean, everyone, we've gone through this pandemic and we've seen how COVID had affected not only, us, but I think the entire world. So in India, there were a lot of COVID hospitals that were being made through CSR, through a lot of activities, and doctors were, playing their role. Everyone from medical field and, administrative field were playing their role. And as architects, we felt that, we should do something. So we have done quite a few projects during that time. So this is one project that we would love to tell you. So we are just showing you a picture of one project, but I think if I'm not wrong, we had completed around 25-30 hospital designs at a time within a span of 1 to 2 months. I mean, in this scale. So these are COVID hospitals. This is in Bijapur that was constructed. And these are constructed within a time span of 1 month to 1.5 months each. Like now somebody would be telling that how. So if you see the buildings, these are made using, structures that we term as mobilist units. These are basically the shipping containers. Okay. And above these shipping containers, the roofs have been made, and inside the shipping containers, the hospitals have been made by joining back to back each of the containers. So when we were given this project, or when we actually volunteered for this project, this was a tremendous opportunity for us to test our skills, that how fast we can not only deliver the plan, but also the services. Because for hospitals, I think everybody would agree that services are equally important. And these were COVID hospitals that were required for emergency. So what we found out that, when this construction was done and completed, we also got a very good idea about modular construction. And we realized that another very important part of modular construction is this hospital you're seeing in today in Bijapur, say you need this land for some other purpose. 80 to 90% of your cost would be saved if you want to take it from here to some other place in India. Because in RCC construction, you have to demolish the building. Here, you do not need to demolish. Since we are talking about modular construction, you just maybe there will be wastage. I would not say that there will be zero wastage. There will be some percentage of wastage, but at least 70 to 80% of your building, you can take and shift it to some other place in India. So that is the beauty, because these containers can easily be taken on any truck. There are certain trucks that are allowed, and that's the beauty of this particular construction technique that we're talking about. And as a student or as a professional, I think we all would agree that if the same structure needed to be made in RCC, what time it would take, what would be the kind of labor that it would take, what would be the kind of water usage it would take, and the different levels of pollution that would be generated, not only for that 1.5 months or 2 months or 1 year, but eventually for a certain period of time. So again, green approach or sustainable approach is just not about, what we believe is not just about, doing, say, putting a green area inside the plant, inside the plan or something, but it is much more beyond that. I mean, these small approaches, if we start taking, maybe this is just one format of construction that we're talking about. Maybe there are several other formats where where we have also worked in hybrid model. That is, some part we know that nothing maybe can beat RCC structure. So at this point of time, so with RCC, we have combined steel structure or maybe LGSF structure, and the project deliverable and timing and labor and everything has been optimized by a lot of margin. So we'll show you some other projects as well parallel to this. So yeah.
Yeah, so now, let's talk about a kind of different approach, not specifically an architectural building, but yes, a full of sustainable approach in a village in COVID period. So in COVID period, we were, told to design a Durga Puja pavilion in a village in Hooghly, in Konnagar. So what they told is to design something which should be unique, because though they were celebrating 25 years of Durga Puja. And Durga Puja is a very big festival. It's the main festival for us, for Bengalis. But suddenly COVID struck, and what happened is, we couldn't manage any budget for the pavilion. Now, that has somehow helped us to think something different for the common mass. And we all were sitting in the room. We were, using virtual communication, and we were doing some projects. Now, through social media, through news channels, we could see all people from all the fraternities, from all the different sectors. They were contributing something to the society. And as architects, we also felt we should do something for the society. So what we did is, we were deriving the Durga Puja pavilion from Chakrabuho. Chakrabuho is a concept from Mahabharata, Abhimanyu's Chakrabuho. All of us know that. And what we did is, instead of making a pavilion, we thought of making a street art to maintain the social distancing. Now, street art comes with art as well. So we took the Chakrabuho, which is labyrinth or maze, you can say. So we have maze in Europe as well, in different forms in different countries. So we stretched the maze, and we got this pattern, which you can see is done on this particular road. And we have done some artwork using triangles and circles. Now, why triangles and circles? Because in village, there will be again multiple typology of masses. So user group is infinity, you can tell it. So, but everyone can easily understand what a circle is and what a triangle is. So we have used these basic shapes. And if you can note that these structures are made just in front of the commercial spaces where there is a chance of contamination. And also in villages you will find a lot of vegetable vendors coming to your doorstep and selling you, specifically at that time selling you vegetables. So we have identified all those areas, and through artwork we have differentiated, we have put circles, triangles in that particular areas. And after doing so, we, without telling them, we went to that place after that day in a particular, as around 6 in the morning, without telling them, we took some photographs from the rooftop, which you can see in this image. And what we found is people are actually absorbing those shapes and standing there and keeping and maintaining the social distancing and buying the vegetables and doing other works. So this is how we could easily change the behavioral pattern of certain mass through a sustainable approach. It's not something which is juxtaposed or told to people to do so, but it's a social message along with sustainable approach which was given to common mass.
So yeah, so another project I think where definitely we should mention, because this was one of the project we started or inspired from one of the competitions that was hosted by Ethos along with CII. So what happened is, when we were students, we had got this project, got this competition that you have to develop a self-sustainable village. And we had taken up a village named Jogram, which was just very near to our like not very near but quite near to our hometowns. So we traveled for almost, like, it's about 2 hours from Kolkata to travel. And we went there and we found that there was something written as Grameen, back to Grameen, if I'm not wrong, in the brief, where aim was particularly, highlighted. So what we found out when we went over there, we found out that meaning of AM. I mean, it was our interpretation at that point of time that maybe we are talking about doing something where villages do have that AM facilities, but they do not have anything after AM, that is in the PM time, that is in the evening, because after 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. in a village like this, where there's no proper electricity, no proper maintenance of the primary school or healthcare as well. So it becomes very difficult, or if you see their lives. So back then we were students, we designed this particular business model for this particular area, where we had chosen pisciculture model, because in Bengal you would know that fish market, the fish is something which people consume a lot. Therefore there's a lot of people who are ready to buy fish, and there is a good market, because the land is to water ratio in this particular village is almost near to 1:1, which is quite surprising for us also, like when we saw it for the first time. So after we designed the pisciculture model, thankfully, we had got stood first in the nationals. We were the first prize winners. And after that, what we did was, with the prize money, we thought that, that was the final year of our college. So we thought that, why just keep this prize money with us and, not do something for architecture? Let's try to, do something with this. So it was an approach that we had taken, that let us go to this village and try to do something for the village and try to execute our idea. Because if you see, if you want to bring transformation in a place, it might take 1 decade, 2 decade, or maybe even 3 decades. So why not start that transformation, or at least try to start that? So we had went to this village after another year. Initially, with the prize money, we tried to do some development works over there. But after 1 year, as we had given a commitment to ourselves and also to the people over there, we took up one project. That is, they had a primary school, and we told that this primary school we would try to develop, because we had learned this concept of ripple effect in architecture. I mean, that's how we termed it later on. That is, if you are bringing change in one part of any particular township or a master plan, it has a ripple effect. It automatically tries to replicate the effects of it in. So what we did is, after seeing this, we chose the point, which is school, primary school. So it was a kind of an experiment which we had done at that point of time. And we had documented this entire experiment, that what happens after we, renovate this entire school with our own prize money. So once we did that, I mean, there was inflow of so many volunteers from different parts of the country who came in and who helped us actually in, taking the school to a different level. So this is a picture after the renovation of the school. Somebody, if we are seeing the internet, we will definitely find out the old pictures of the school and the locality. And we were reported, like we had taken these children and people, and we tried to involve them inside this, so that they have that sense of community as well. So they were also involved, and if we took one child to do something, there was another child who came over there, there was another friend of his or her who came over there, their parents came. So people who never wanted to visit the school because the school was in dilapidated condition or maybe in a poor condition, they not only themselves were coming, but their parents were also coming this time. So that was one change. The second change which we got to know later on is that people over there, they were telling the local authorities to do certain works, road works and everything for quite some time. After the school got renovated, and these were, the children were also coming and everything was happening again. I mean, they also found that overall enthusiasm, and they developed the entire area with new roads and everything within certain months of this renovation. So this is the kind of ripple effect of architecture that we tried to experiment, and we could call it successful. And I would like to tell that, as it was already mentioned earlier, so for this is the project and the documentation because of which our work was also showcased in London Design Biennale. I mean, we were, I think, one of the youngest where our works were showcased with likes of many top architects from and respected architects from India as well as abroad. So it was a great moment for us as well, because a village work going to some place like London and our work was showcased. It was a big moment for us in Weebridge. And I would tell that, 5 years, it was almost after 5 years this happened. So it was a hard work of not just a day, not just a year, but a few proper years. So yeah, this is something which makes us really emotional as a project. Moving on to the next one.
Yeah. So, other than the, social projects and the steel projects that we were talking, uh, we were, participating in a tender competition floated by Bhutan government. That's the international airport domestic terminal of Paro. So Paro is, one of the dangerous airports in the world. So only 8 to 10 pilots are registered and allowed to fly over there, because at the last moment you could just see a part of the runway. So it's just crowded by a lot of mountains, and Bhutan is a very beautiful country, less carbon footprint, happiest on earth. So it was a great project for us. So we started with uh, project planning, of course, airport planning. But what we focused in this building was, to create something very natural, green and sustainable, because otherwise, we couldn't have one or establish something on Bhutan. Bhutan demands a project which is purely sustainable and green. So we first of all, as sustainability comes with the local architecture, so we could follow the international typology, but no. For here, for Bhutan, we have studied the Bhutan architecture, the local flavors, like the windows you can see in this picture, the columns, the other fenestrations, the roof work, everything tells you about the architecture of Bhutan. That's how we started our sustainability journey through in this building. And in the interior, what we have done is, see, from other countries or from other parts of Bhutan, people are going to come. So as it's a cosmopolitan, people, a lot of cultures are coming to this airport, because airport is always the gateway to any city. So we had to make the interior into a contemporary one. But yes, from the outside, see, we have maintained the architecture, and also if you see the inside, what we have done is we have created two light wells. And like good airports, what we have created is visual connection throughout, from the check-in to the arrival. And there are solar panels all throughout the building and as well as nearby this building. The paint materials, the glasses, the flooring, everything is green here because we were targeting green certificate for this. And a very interesting factor which I'm going to tell you for this project is Bhutan, the temperature is moderate throughout, 24 degrees all throughout the year, so you don't need any kind of HVAC. So moving HVAC, moving any carbon footprint, what we have done is we have created thermostats through pipe. We laid pipes throughout the floor, and above it we put stone. So in case you need heat, you just need to on your thermostat. That's how you warm your waters, and through this you can heat up your stone flooring, and your temperature modification job is done. So this is a terminal building again with lot of new approaches. Even the electrical fixtures, light fixtures, all are modern, all are sensor based, so that we can save more and more energy.
So just briefly talking about, these are some client testimonials which are very, very close to our heart. And we've been very lucky to work with people from in India as well as abroad. For the Forbes India, yeah, this is something which is again very, very close to our heart, because when we started our journey, throughout this career of college life and after college life, we've always seen people who are there in Forbes India 30 under 30 and this kind of lists. So again, it was very good that, one of the key members had told us later that a very important point, that is, it's a very vital thing that we are chasing values more than valuation, which was one of the main reason why we were really appreciated. Because as architects, we often feel that we are somehow just starting, and specifically in the age of startups, somewhere or the other, it becomes a valuation race when you're just a bootstrap company, and you open yourself up in different manners. But this is something which was a big thing for us, and we are also very, very happy that we've been quite a long time associated with working in several competitions with Ethos as well, Geeta ma'am as well. So yeah, just running through our journey, it gives us a feel of nostalgia, because we started there as absolutely students of first year and second year and like that. So yeah, these are certain community social responsibilities that we have always tried. And I think one project which I just missed out from here, I think since we have already showcased this project to you, I'd like to tell, just maybe it has been missed out. So this particular project is one railing project which we have done for NKDA and NDITA. There is another project. So Mr. Devashish Shen, who is a retired IAS officer, and presently he's the MD of HITCO and NDITA. So it was a really, really big thing that he had given us this particular opportunity on this project. As well as there's one project which is coming up in Calcutta, which is the NDITA Iconic Gate, which is almost a 5-story gate structure. It's almost a 40 feet high gate where people would be able to climb up on that particular gate. And it's almost like a similar kind of a volume like the Vishwamangla Gate. And the challenge here was that Vishwamangla Gate had still got certain green footprints, like green patches of lands. But we have done that design particularly on the main service zone of Sector 5. If I just have to talk a bit about Sector 5, Sector 5 is one of the highest revenue generating zone of the entire Bengal. So there, all the top companies of the world have their branch offices in Salt Lake Sector 5 in Kolkata. So the main line, including the water line, the electrical line, everything was running right below our site. And there also, our team constantly has maintained a green and sustainable approach. in terms of the planning, in terms of how the project should take place, and in terms of how to design the pile cap, every part. So maybe right now the piling has only been completed, and sometime later we hope that we will be soon able to show you the completed picture of the entire iconic gate, which hopefully would be an icon not only for Salt Lake, but also would be an icon for India, or maybe also for Bengal. So just concluding towards the end, yeah, coming back to community social responsibilities, I mean, it's always been wonderful to share whatever we've learned. And a very important point was told, I mean, just 2 days back to me while I was, kind of retrospecting that, 30 years, almost, we are completing 30 years of life and all these things. So we are at that age. Somebody told me a very important point, that is, you should start discussing and keeping a lot of youngsters in your team always, whatever your age is, because you keep learning yourself, you keep teaching the youngsters and discussing the youngsters, and in return you get a lot of new things from the youngsters, which would be very difficult for you to learn maybe at your age. So it is very important that whenever we communicate with somebody who are juniors to us, or maybe who are of our same age, of course from the seniors we keep learning, but I think we always have respected how much we have learned from our juniors as well. So if you see from all the workshops that we have done early in our career, in NASA, or maybe in CST Bhutan, or we've gone to like special child schools. I mean, these are some places where we love to visit. We've held a football team to who are not there with any sponsors for themselves. I mean, just donate some money and they win a cup in Kolkata. And there's a place called Robindra Sarovar, so they were the winners over there for a cup. So, this is something which we've always loved doing. Both of us are from sports background. So, yeah, definitely it might go without saying. And yeah, some safety protocols and all that are, very important, which we always try to promote. Now, coming to towards the end, yeah, this is something we would just tell in very brief. So we have started something which is called as the Vivaci. So Vivaci is basically VBridge's integrated vision in architecture, conclave, and exhibition. So what happens over there is we try to bring in not only the architects, but architects with different students from different universities, as well as clients, as well as our vendor partners, and all in under single roof. So this is our second successful year that we've completed. You can see architect Dulal Mukherjee sir had come this time. We've seen Mr. Harsh Neutia sir had come, Mr. Devashish Sen, who is the IAS retired IAS officer and MD of Hitco. He had graced our ceremony. Also, we find a lot of people like Padma winners and several students came. So this is something which we are trying to promote. That is where our name comes from. That is VBridge. We are trying to bridge the gap in between architecture, the design field, and the common mass, and it will always remain our motto. And I think more or less, if we talk about, these are some of our clients. And yeah, anytime, if we are of any help to any youngster, any student, or anything, we would definitely want to help. And also, please give us your feedback and understanding about how VBridge is doing, how VBridge can grow bigger, because that is also very helpful in our process of learning. So that's it from our side, I guess.
All right, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Architect Ayan and Soumyodeep, for showing us through your presentation. Your projects not only demonstrate the remarkable possibilities in sustainable architecture, but also showcase the innovative and thoughtful interventions through socially and environmentally conscious design decisions that wonderfully advocate the art and science of designing responsibly. I'm sure the webinar undoubtedly enriched our viewers' understanding of the significant role architects can play in shaping a greener and more sustainable future, and also have a lot of learnings to take away today. So I would like to take this opportunity to ask you both a few questions.
Yeah, sure.
So in your presentation, we see a wide range of building typologies that you worked on. How does your approach to sustainability change with different building typologies? Do you follow a consistent design process regardless the building type, or is it tailored to each project that you do?
Uh, I think, yeah, I can just tell a very basic brief. So, the process, I mean, this is a very important word, key word, I think, in design. That is the process, because we are skipping certain steps in the process, but eventually we come back again. So, every time we are designing, we follow a particular process. That is, I mean, for every project, there might be different kind of variables, but the process remains the same. So, for example, when we were designing, say, the Manipal Library building or the academic building, or we were designing the hospital building, the process or the steps of designing were the same, but the approach, that was a bit different. So that again becomes the part of the process. That is, in that particular building, we knew that we have, say, 1.5 months time to understand the situation, maybe visit the site, and then take certain decisions. Whereas in the case of the COVID hospitals, that was not the case. I mean, we had to instantly deliver, but we never skipped one particular step also. Like, the basics that are taught to us, like the bubble diagram, and then to something like that. So, that thing, even if we are not doing it on paper sometimes because we are maybe traveling or doing something, we just do certain sketches. I mean, that is a mandatory. Unless you are sketching something, I mean, it not be as productive as maybe you could be. So that is something which we generously try to follow. And the other thing which we have tried to do is, I mean, which we would tell everyone, I mean, specifically, we've learned it from our seniors as well, that is, there needs to be a point in design which you need to learn in your experience, through your experience, where you need to stop. I mean, you can keep designing as much as you want throughout the day, throughout the year, throughout, but the most important point is you need to understand that this is my optimum line. I mean, I cannot go beyond this, or I cannot invest more time or more on this, because there's a term in interiors we talk when we do interior projects, and we tell clients ki, in Hindi or Bengali we say joto gud tato mishti. I mean, how much the amount of additions of jaggery you do, it will get sweeter. But the point is, again, you need to understand that optimum line of designing. I mean, this project needs this, that project needs that, but the process that remains same. So yeah, that is what I
Absolutely.
have.
Absolutely. And my second question comes to the most interesting project I think all of us are here for. So the Jagran project is a wonderful example of responsible design intervention, like how you both explained about it. So what are some most significant challenges that you faced while integrating architecture with a self-sustainable business model, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so see, the point is which we generally forgot when we come to cities and do architecture practice. It's a question which will always come to us, and we all are mostly not answering that question. That is, if you see the percentage of cities versus villages in India, you will find 67% of India is villages only. And we never answered villages, to be very honest. We are here in the cities. Some people are traveling abroad, mostly answering cities, mega cities, corporate clients, and etc., etc. But here we would like to thank ethos, because it all started with ethos only, ethos, Saint Gobain, CII, because we got a problem like this where we need to develop a business model for a village. And that's how we started thinking about villages and village economy. So it was not an architecture problem, it was a planning problem at the age of say 21 as fourth year student. But we could easily, we could easily solve it because the brief was nicely done. We could understand each and every problem. And we studied Amul, we studied Arambag's chicken, and then we went to the village. And you see, the problem which we felt was, to incorporate, like you said, incorporate architecture in villages. Like you don't get to see, or you don't get much budget for it. So first of all, your design needs to be sustainable, as you have already mentioned, and also as per brief. And then your design should be efficient and cost effective. That is again a very big point for a village. Sustainable and cost effective, there comes your innovation, where you rigorously search for materials, rigorously search for new interventions, you search for users study. So these are the things. You said what are the fishermen are going to say, how they are going to live, how they are traveling, how fish is, somehow we are storing it in cold storages, how we are answering the auctions, how we are answering the transportation and travel from village to city. And why we were selected in London Design Biennale was we answered clean energy segment, clean water, clean energy. So these are the things that we should think when we come to a village. Like this should be an approach we all students and architects should do. Like Ethos has given us a platform to showcase the design. Yes, we came first. That was the first time we used drone in 2016 in architecture. So, aerial understanding of the project, aerial answering of the project, videography, cinematography, architecture, sustainability, material, everything. Then what we did is with the help of Ethos, Sengov and CII, we collected some budget, and yes, we took the initiative. We went to that village, put the money for the students. We developed, like as per Clarence Perry's urban design theorem, you should answer the basic necessities first. Before going to the fisherman, you should first come to school, primary health care. You should develop some infrastructure for the women and children who can practice or generate economy in the evening time by a lot of things. So these are the things which came to us through, of course, Ethos, you, us, Saint Govind, CIA, as a whole, villagers as well, and we could do the change. So all we are requesting you is come forward, come all the students and the professional, answer the villages first because that's the root of India. We have
Very
seen a movie of Shah Rukh Khan, Swades, why he came from NASA to India and answered the village questions. So that would be something which we can surely look forward in the future. Sustainable villages.
Absolutely, very well said. Very well said. So the next question comes up to the concept of temporary, lean, light, and reversible architecture solutions that have significantly gained traction in recent years, especially in response to emergency crises like COVID-19 pandemic we just all experienced. One of your projects, Bijapur Hospital, is also an example for that. Based on this experience, do you see a future for ephemeral or transient architecture that may go beyond just emergency situations?
Yeah, definitely it does. I'll just briefly talk about this again because I think in the presentation also we mentioned the key factors why such kind of architecture is blooming up a lot. Because if you see the Western countries, let us talk about the countries that are in the West, there are a lot of drywall constructions. In India, it is not yet that popular because people are unsure that whether, like, we've got questions to keep it on lighter note that, if we hit on this wall, will this drywall break? Because it is not as strong as, I mean, people have this idea, but I would tell people that the ones which are, the real fiber cement boards. I'm not talking about the ones which are, So I'm talking about the real fiber cement boards. People can try and punch on it. I mean, we've got some people to, do that you try punching on it, you try hitting on it, and just keep trying for the for certain hours. If you can break it without using anything, like if you come and bring a hammer and if you're trying to hit it, of course a brick wall might also break, unless and until it's a very old times house where walls were made using lime and all that. So I mean this kind of architecture should be at least blooming in India as well. Why? Because in India, I mean, requirements drastically keep changing. I mean, 2023, we are standing right now. I mean, in 2030, the requirements will be might be different. I mean, in terms of housing, in terms of place. And another thing which I feel is that all the megacities that are there, they have become quite saturated. I mean, in terms of, the density of, I mean, land scarcity is something which, if we visit places like Mumbai, even in Kolkata, if somebody is landing in Kolkata, somebody will be like in shock. I mean, looking at the density of buildings that are there. So what happens when we use this kind of construction is that for the government as well, that a construction that is done in 2023, maybe that particular building has lost its relevance in 2050, for example. I mean, you can easily, take that building and maybe you can shift it to some other place, or you can reuse that entire material that was invested upon at in 2025, say for example. And you also have that land, which is the, I think, the most costliest thing in real estate or architecture or anywhere. That land becomes free. So you can bring up with some new building over there again. Like for example, when we are working for Tata Steel, there are several cases where we have seen that a building is being constructed in a thought that after 15 years that building will be, just shifted to some other place. Why? Because they are doing a research that if there are certain minerals that might be found just below that, so if they find it after 15 years, those buildings will not find any relevance over there. So if that is done in RCC, I mean, you know what kind of things will happen and the amount of like pressure we would put on the environment as well in terms of greenery and sustainability. So that is something which I think that, just beyond emergency situations, we should definitely try to incorporate. I'm not telling to totally cut out RCC, because RCC or RCC construction or brick, that cannot be replaced. I mean, that has its own essence, that has its own value, that has its own kind of pros and cons. But we should try to reach that optimum level of, using RCC and dry walls. There should be a complete understanding of, all the people that there is a kind of construction known as RCC construction. There is something called dry wall construction. If I'm planning to invest for 5 years or 10 years, and I just want to stay in a place, it can be done using just a dry wall construction, because I'm telling it a very short period, but a drywall construction general guarantee, I'm not taking any names of any company, but generally 25 years to 30 years, people are giving guarantee warranty. So why are we afraid of investing where we are getting guarantee and warranty? So
Right.
that is something which I, and the resale value. I mean, if an RCC building which you make and by chance for any reason you need to demolish that building in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, you have to pay for demolition of your own building. Whereas in this particular structure where steel is being used in large volume, I mean, at least if not 100%, you can get 50% to 60% of your money that you invested. And steel ka price, generally it goes up. So, you are at a win-win situation always.
Right,
So
absolutely.
that's what we believe, yeah.
Absolutely. And this brings us to the last question for the session. And if you would have one piece of advice for student designers who are in their college, or budding architects like who are just passing out from their thesis, in this industry where they're quite clueless to do, where to begin, what to do, how do I start my journey, what would that be? It'll be great if both of you could answer this question.
Yeah. Shomadip,
Yeah, so see, first point is we were also student maybe few years back, six
Yeah.
years, 7 years back, not much. So at that time we also had this fear, how to start, what should we do? Should we go abroad? Because at the age of 22, in the period of demonetization, we were there in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia. We were traveling, seeing a different kind of sustainable buildings, sustainable high rises just near to us. Seeing buildings of Norman Foster, Zaha Hadid just near to our eyes. So we understood and we tried to learn a lot of things. And this thing was always in our mind, we have to start something to bring this change, because this will be an advice to, of course, to all the students is, we were also students, you are also students now, you will get the opportunity. Specifically till 2030, it's, even Jeff Bezos has mentioned that this is India's decade. Maybe another 5 year, another 10 years will be the decade for the Indians or Indian subcontinents, the developing countries. So, as an Indian, first of all, we should take an oath that if we need to bring some change, we need to come up. See, when we were doing the village project, nobody was funding us. Uh, there was a lot of challenges, ifs and buts, question marks. But the major point, if you are honest to your subject, it's appropriate and applicable for all the subjects. If you are honest to architecture, you come to this market. I very much remember, my thesis guide's advice, thesis external professor's advice. He said, after listening to all the proposal, that we'll request you to come to the field and challenge the others. So that's how we would love to, encourage and tell all the other students who are listening, who are in college now, come to the field. Don't just, if you are honest about architecture, then you have to come. You have to come up, you have to take step. The step can be anything. Changing bylaws from the Architects Act, which was done in 1972, you have to do that. So anything. There are a lot of things that cannot be done by any two, any three, any four. It can be done by 300, 400, 500 young architects. So we have 394 colleges right now. So even if one student from each college comes to practice, there will be 400, 394, 400 architects every year. So that's a large number to change anything. We have 29, 30 states. So at least 5, 10 architects per state. So just come up, share your ideas, pitch to all we have social media now, we have Instagram, we have Reels, we have a lot of things. We didn't all have all these things 6 years back. So through this, we can reach to common mass. We have to reach the common mass. We have to tell and aware about architecture to mass. That's how we, of course, AI is there. We have to take AI with us. Then we can definitely bring the change. So that will be the message for all the students.
Absolutely wonderful. What an incredible session this has been. And it's not one, but two people talking at the same time is so much more to cherish for. So thank you very much.
One point I would just want to mention, as was already mentioned over here. I mean, just beyond architecture, of course, is something which has been our forte. I mean, I recently heard about this particular thing in one of the podcasts. That is, we are at an age where maybe our learning should be like a T. I mean, like a shape of a T, where you need to have a in-depth knowledge about something, whereas you need to spread your understanding about a lot of things. Like, say, if we see a T, you need to have that in-depth knowledge about, say, architecture. But you need to spread your wings like the other two hands of T, where you have knowledge about not only architecture, but several things. For example, as you already mentioned, that, how fast, I mean, we are talking about. So, I mean, AI versus humans is a very common topic. Why just we talk about versus? Why not AI with humans or humans with AI? I mean, why don't we collab that? I mean, this is one point. Second is, we were talking also about comparing. So whenever we are trying to, for example, if Virat Kohli wanted to become a Sachin Tendulkar, maybe at a very young age, he started looking at Sachin Tendulkar and, there's an inspiration. I want to become this. I want to become that. And he keeps trying to follow those paths. But in architecture, if we see, I mean, the world in architecture changes so fast. I mean, in 1960s, if I talk about the 1950s, when, late B.V. Doshi sir, late Charles Correa sir, I mean, it was their era, 1960s, 1970s, I mean, starting of their era maybe. So, I mean, at that time, architecture was something different. If we talk about today's world, architecture is, I mean, totally different, I could say. I mean, not only architecture, but I think the entire business industry has changed. So when I'm talking about that, maybe we should also think that, it's because architecture or any design field, like even photography, even videography or anything, these are all very subjective fields and not very quantitative fields. I mean, a lot of people I know are switching to AI or, UI, UX and graphic designing and several other fields after studying architecture. Now, the point is, people love doing those unique designs, but in business, if I talk about business terms, people will also love some scalable models. I mean, where you don't need to design every day, where you come up with one unique design for, say, 2 months of your time. So your brain sees that you're giving enough time to your design as well. And then you're replicating your design, you're actually scaling your design constantly. I mean, this can be done through product design. And we are also looking forward if we can bring that into architecture as well, so that, you have a scalability model in design as well. So again, today, all this is relevant in terms of 2023 or 2025 or till 2030. But if we again coincidentally, have a similar meeting in 2030 or 2035, I mean, we need to talk about what is relevant, because, this advice is okay for now, whatever we are talking about, but maybe after 5 years or 2 years or 10 years, these will again change. And we always give an example, a very small example to, end with, because when Tata started their journey, or maybe say, when Ambani started their journey, I mean, that time there was no telephone call. Us time pe, if there was one message that needed to be given, even if you talk about our architects, whom just we mentioned, at the beginning of their career, there might not even be a telephone existing in their life in the entire Indian scenario. So, how one message that needed to be passed on, needed like 10 days, 8 days. Maybe a runner used to run and give the message, or maybe, I don't know, pigeons used to fly at a point of time. I mean, in today's world, we are just talking, maybe, broadcasting this entire thing to maybe thousands of students, and in just a click. And this is happening within few minutes. So, how much in just 2-3 decades or 5 decades, how much the world has changed? And in another decade, the world might again change totally. So, this change needs to be always chased by the students. And I would also tell the students who are once a student should always stay a student, because, inside, if you stop learning, I mean, nothing will make you better unless and until you yourself think that you're a student always. So that will
Never let
always
the curiosity die. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, both of you. That was really informative and insightful session. So on behalf of all of us at Glass Academy and Ethos, I'd like to thank you both for sharing your thoughts with us today. It was a wonderful and incredible session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.